Hello everyone, this is the Spider Fanboy here to bring you another new series. I know I'm going with a lot, but trust me on this. I think I know what I'm doing. So for this video, we are going to be starting in Naruto. What if Jiraiya seriously trained Naruto, or what if he trained Naruto seriously? And we're actually going to start a little bit earlier than anyone would have expected. We are going to start during the Chunin exams for the 1 month of training before the proper Chunin exams, um, where they're going to have the tournament. So this is going to take place during the 1 month of training. Um, we're going to start right when Naruto and Jiraiya meet. Their initial meeting at the hot springs goes about the same, and it's up until he ends up discovering what that when he releases the five prong seal that Orochimaru put onto Naruto. We're gonna start from right there. He's Even though he has released the seal and Naruto's definitely making more progress, he can tell that it's gonna be it, his lack of progress, despite the fact that he has now taken the seal off. He wonders just how well he's gonna be able to prepare the kid not only for the Chunin exams, but for the potential Akatsuki that are going to be coming after him. He's already got the information on them. So he's a little worried, and he decides he's really going to kick it into high gear with training Naruto. So he calls him over. He calls Naruto over, and he tells him that he's gonna have him start to bump up his training now that the seal isn't messing with his chakra anymore. And he tells him that before he teaches him the Ultra Jutsu, the super cool technique, the summoning, he's gonna be teaching him more advanced chakra control. So he asks him, he's like, the old man Hokage, the old man Hokage told me that you had some talent with the Shadow Clone Jutsu. So why don't you go ahead and show me, make as many clones as you can handle. And Naruto decides to humor him. He puts his fingers together and he crosses his fingers, and we'll say he makes around 200 clones. He usually only makes that 1,000 or 2,000 when he really needs to, but he's being told like really push it. So he pulls around like 200. Yeah, we're gonna say like 250 clones, and he could tell like, ooh, you could probably. He's like, man, you're able to make this many with your chakra control as bad as it is. By the end of this, you'll be able to pull out 1,000 with the same amount of chakra, if not half. And this kind of gets Naruto hype. He is like, maybe he's like a little upset at the insult to his chakra control, but he's hyped that he's going to be able to increase his arsenal with this jutsu at least. And he asks Pervy Sage how is he going to help him increase his chakra control. So he lets him know that he's going to have his clones also practice the water walking, and he's going to have some of them spar on the trees, since that's like the only chakra control exercise that he's good at. He's like, well, you can already walk on trees, right? He's like, well, yeah. He's like, well, then I'm gonna have you have some of them spar on the trees so that they can get used to making sure that they're always aware of their chakra flow. That experience might help you in developing the habit for water walking. And this is where Naruto's kind of confused, like, how are the shadow clones gonna help me? And Jiraiya, he kind of face palms, and then he kind of does the same thing that Kakashi did with Naruto. He has them go off. He makes his own shadow clone, has it go off with one of Naruto's clones, and he's like, oh, he has them play rock paper scissors for a bowl of ramen, and has it disperse. Well, maybe not exactly ramen. He's like, I'll get you some dinner, whatever you want. And then the clone cheers, yeah, you're gonna get me some ramen. And then they play the game, and the memories go back not only to Naruto but to all of his clones. And because when he sees this happen to all of his clones, it's actually going to help get the point across a little easier. So he's going to be practicing his chakra control. He's going to have all of his clones do it, and he's going to be doing it as well. We'll say like 100 of them, or like 50 of them, are doing spars across the trees and across different surfaces, so that they can get better used to constantly keeping the flow of chakra, while the majority of the other ones are going to, let's say, like, yeah, 50 of them are doing it on the trees, 150 are doing it on the water. And he's like, Well, if you really wanna have an edge against that Hyuga kid, you're probably gonna need something to cover the edge. You're decently good with taijutsu. I'll be helping you practice that, but we're gonna have if you really want to have the edge against him and even that Uchiha kid you were talking about, we're gonna have to give you something to cross the edge, and this is where he brings up elemental jutsu, and Naruto's gonna be explained. He's gonna get the explanation behind like the elements and how they counter one another, and here Jiraiya is going to test his nature affinity, and he's gonna see that it's wind, and you can say that he probably had knows some Winjutsu himself. It was mentioned that when he was like back when he was training Nagato in that one manga panel, he mentions how Nagato was able to master any jutsu he was taught, and how he ended up mastering almost all five nature chakra, all five changes in chakra nature by the time he was like 9. So he was able to teach him some techniques across all five of the chakra natures, and his sensei the third Okage is the professor. He's mastered all forms of chakra nature transformation. So even if he himself can't teach in some Winjutsu, he'll definitely be able to get some notes and some tips from Sarutobi. And you could say favoritism, whatever. He's able to do it. He's still able to get Naruto to get some basics in wind training. So he's gonna learn how to like cut the leaf, but it's gonna be over the course of the month, and he's not aiming directly to go for the Rasen Shuriken. And we'll say like the first week goes by, um, his chakra control has improved to the point where he can pull out like 500 clones, and he's moved on from tree training to having like maybe 200 clones are sparring on the water, 200 clones are practicing the wind style, and Naruto every day is switching back and forth between them, and like the last 100 clones are, let's say they're, hmm, what would they be doing? The last 100 clones would probably be doing something along the lines of getting better with. Oh, we'll have them practice like some other techniques, like the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Like maybe Jiraiya decides to teach him the variants of the Shadow Clone, so he learns like the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, which he gets down pretty quickly, the exploding shadow clone jutsu, which he also gets down, and he teaches him some of his technique, like the camouflage technique. Um, yeah, he'll practice like the camouflage technique. He'll practice. We'll say that he practices the body flicker, and which is just an advancement of the substitution jutsu. He's like, well, yeah, like maybe they're sparring, and he pulls off the body flicker, and Naruto mentions like he's seen that jutsu before. He asks if it's the substitution, but without any kind of log, and he clarifies it's the body flicker technique. It's the improved version, made for better traversal and combat. And he decides like, what the hell? He's gonna go on ahead and teach the kid. He's taking Naruto's training pretty seriously because he doesn't want to risk anything happening to him, especially with this potential invasion from Orochimaru. He knows Orochimaru is planning something, so he doesn't want to take any risks. And this is gonna be like the second week of training. Naruto is really getting into the swing of things, and by this point, he's practically mastered water walking with all of his experience with all of his clones, and now he can casually pull off like 1,000 clones by the time we get to the beginning of the third week. And finally, Jiraiya decides to get back to teaching him how to summon. And with his better chakra control, he's able to summon, maybe not Gamabunta, but he's able to summon one of the other ones, like the one that had that weird forked staff and the shield, or the one with the blade. Those other two that he summoned when he came in to fight against Pain. He'll be summoning them, and maybe he's able to get to summoning Gamabunta by himself. It tires him out, but by the end of the week, he's gotten the summoning down, and he can do it reliably. They teach him a little bit about like jutsu combinations, like he uses a wind style great wind breakthrough or something along those lines, while one of his toad summons uses like the water bullet, so it gives it more concussive impact. And we'll say he also learns a little bit about ceiling tags. So like he's able to make like explosive ceiling tags, or um, yeah, he's able to make like explosive ceiling tags. He learns how to do that by himself, and he can do like some storage scrolls. But that's about as good as he's gonna get over the course of the final 2 weeks. And we'll say that during the last week, Jiraiya, since he's seen how much he's able to improve like so quickly, he decides to teach him the Rasengan. And here he's right now he's like at like 1500 shadow clones that he can pull off for his training, and he's mainly having them practice his like refining his wind style control, his he's refining his wind element training, and he's like learned how to channel it around his kunai and even his shuriken. He's learned how to pull off the shuriken shadow clone jutsu, and he can do it for his kunai. He's better with substitution and body flicker, so he's going to be a lot faster on the battlefield. He can make explosive tags, which he can slap onto his weapons when he throws them, and he can pull off that like lion's mane technique where his hair grows out. Maybe he's not as good at it because of how short his hair is, but like he can do it like just to cover around like the front part of his body, something along those lines. And yeah, he's gonna be practicing the Rasengan for the final week. He has like his clones split up. Like 500 are always constantly sparring on the along the water, and maybe they move to a different training ground with like a waterfall, so he can get used to like having rushing water, constantly disturbing the water below him. Um, he's advancing to the point where he's trying to cut trees and rocks instead of just leaves. He's not going to be parting the waterfall anytime soon. That's something Jiraiya thinks he can get to later. Adding the chakra, the change in developing something like the Rasen Shuriken, he thinks like that can be something for later. This is good enough, and he teaches him how to use the proper Rasengan. So he's going to learn how to use the Rasengan. 500 are doing chakra control on the water. 500 are constantly practicing um, with the change in wind style, and the other 500 are helping. They're all learning how to do they're like perfecting miscellaneous jutsu as well as the Rasengan. Like he's learning how to create it in one hand. He's learning how to create it in his left hand as well. He's getting it down so that he can do it quicker, and he's learning how to do it in both hands and how to pull off the giant Rasengan. And his ultimate technique is where like he does that thing Boruto does, where like he has two clones launch him with the air palm technique, and what he does is that as he launches forward, he forms two giant Rasengans, one in each hand, and he slams them towards his opponent. That's gonna be like his ultimate deadly technique. And here we'll say that he also does, just due to the fact that he's stressing out his chakra so much, similarly to when he was training the Rasen Shuriken, because he's constantly straining his chakra and doing all of these chakra control exercises, there are moments where the QB's chakra leaks through, and he does end up meeting with the QB. Maybe he does still need that final push to summon Gamabunta, so he's still pushed off, and he meets up with the QB and he learns how to better draw on his chakra. So they're still going to have that first meeting with Kurama, but maybe Naruto's just a little bit more confident in himself. He's grown a lot over the course of 1 month. He's grown more than almost any other shinobi has. So he's definitely feeling confident going into his battle against Neji. And here, just by himself without needing Kurama's chakra, he's pushed himself to the point where he can summon 2,000 clones. And yeah, that's going to be it for their 1 month of training. So he's gotten the summoning down. He can do it properly, reliably, and can summon Gamabunta without needing the QB's chakra, but it's definitely tiring him out. It's like it's a big drain even for his chakra. But luckily, the chakra control his new chakra control helps him mitigate that. He can pull off the Rasengan in just one hand, doesn't need clones to form it anymore, and he can pull off the double Rasengan, he can pull it off from either hand, and he can pull off the giant Rasengan, or the big ball Rasengan, whatever you call it. He has some wind element jutsu under his belt that he's hoping he can use against Neji, although Jiraiya did tell him it probably wouldn't be good to use against Sasuke in his fire style. But he definitely thinks he might be able to keep up with his Sharingan thanks to his new speed and practice with the body flicker technique. Um, he's gotten better with just using kunai. He's better with taijutsu and his chakra control. He hasn't practiced in releasing genjutsu, but if he ends up realizing he's in one, he may be able to break out. Maybe he told him a little bit about it, like why chakra control is so important. If like Naruto ever decided to complain, he'd be like, "Well, it's very important, kid. It'll help you get out of genjutsu. And if you're gonna be facing against that Uchiha kid, if he really has been training with Kakashi all month, he probably has some Sharingan genjutsu all for himself. You're not gonna want to get caught off guard with that, are you?" So he's definitely able to get Naruto to take his training seriously. And we get into the same battles. They go about the same as in canon, except obviously for Naruto versus Neji. We'll say that just because Naruto is the loudmouth that he is, and he still needs to do his talk no jutsu against Neji. Maybe it goes about the same length. Um, he's learned from Jiraiya that you can be flashy. That's fine. Just don't. But you still have to get the job done. You're a shinobi. So he takes the fight more seriously, but he also takes time to plan things out, and he doesn't reveal all of his cards straight from the get-go. He's able to maybe he's able to create he's able to create his shadow clones when Neji attempts to charge at him with the gentle fist, and when he's trying to land the 64 palms. Whenever he's about to land it on Naruto himself, he'll substitute with one of his clones that he has in the area. And we'll say that he forces Neji to use the rotation when he attacks him with like a swarm of like a complete storm of his Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Like he's able to make hundreds, if not thousands, of them, and he has to pull out the rotation in order to deflect them all. And when he sees this, he's like, "Oh yeah, I got something superior to that, but I won't even need it to beat you." And he charges in. This time he substitutes himself with an exploding shadow clone to disrupt his rotation, and then he kind of pulls something similar to what he did at the bridge against what he and Sasuke did at the bridge against Sabuza. He actually summons out from like a storage, maybe like a little storage seal he has. He summons out a demon wind shuriken. He throws it at Neji, who's just barely able to dodge. But there was one on the other side of it, so like it ends up coming at him straight in a line like this instead of horizontal. It comes at him like vertical. So he dodges out of the way, but on the other side of it transforms Naruto. So the shuriken continues to go past them, and um, the the clone ends up appearing right next to him. And like this gets everyone to freak out for a second. Like the third Hokage almost thinks that Jiraiya somehow managed to teach him the Hiraishin, the Flying Thunder God. But no, he quickly is able to do what he actually did. But when he sees a blonde move across the battlefield that quickly, he almost thinks he taught him the Hiraishin. But no, he his clone poofs into his normal self, and ends up it's another exploding shadow clone. And this is what ends up taking Neji out of the fight. And if you want to say it doesn't, we'll just easily say that that second shuriken that flew past him was also another clone. And like he very easily and quickly hits him with like a wind bullet jutsu to finally knock him out. And Naruto wins with not even a scratch on him. He didn't even need to flare the Kyuubi chakra because he never even got hit by the gentle fist. He was able to stay out of his range, and was able to take him down from afar. And then we get to the fight against Sasuke and Gaara. Goes about the same as in canon, but Naruto, he's not as shaken up when he sees the Chidori. He thinks he might be able to beat it with his Rasengan, especially if he goes to a big ball Rasengan. And then we get to the sound invasion. We can easily say that Naruto actually ends up waking himself up, although by complete accident. When he fell asleep, he actually met up with the Kyuubi for a brief second, and he was like, "Wait a second, what the hell am I doing here?" And either he flared his own chakra or Kurama did, but either way, he breaks out of the Genjutsu by himself, and him, Shikamaru, and Sakura end up going after Sasuke. That ends up going about the same when they arrive, except we can say Naruto ends up arriving first. He gets there first, and he's able to interrupt the fight between Sasuke and Gaara. Sakura doesn't end up getting pinned, and Naruto is able to take care of anyone who gets in the way. Sakura doesn't end up getting pinned, so Sasuke doesn't have to he doesn't have to force out his chakra and fire another Chidori. Naruto is able to come in with a Rasengan to tear apart Gaara's Shukaku arm. And then in response to this, Gaara ends up going into his partial transformation where like he ends up like a little mini Shukaku. And Naruto, seeing this, um, calls upon some of Kurama's chakra and summons like 5,000 shadow clones. And like in like not all of them are proper shadow clones. Some of them are like explosive shadow clones, and they end up showing this when like they end up teaming up in like teams of three, and they shoot like two of them will shoot an exploding shadow clone towards Gaara, and it's like completely bombarding him. It's messing up his sand armor. Yeah, the sand is falling off at a rapid pace, and because of this, he ends up transforming into Shukaku a little earlier. But we can also say maybe he ends up landing a big ball Rasengan, which is like the final straw, which forces Gaara to unleash Shukaku. And here Naruto does end up summoning Gamabunta similarly to in canon. They have their same fight. He does transform Gamabunta into the Nine Tails to hold on to Shukaku, and he jumps forward. He has his clones launch him, so he doesn't get held back by any Shukaku sand since his clones end up launching him. And he strikes Gaara down, and we'll say that since he's in better shape throughout the battle, he's not like crawling on his chin to get to Gaara. He's actually able to stand up. He walks over to him, and he gives his same, talk no jutsu. I get your pain. I know it better than anyone else, but I have people now, and I know you have people too, even if you don't see it just yet. And then that's where his siblings come in, and Naruto decides to walk away, and he lets them escape. He gets back to the village, and it's just about in the same shape. Sadly, Sarutobi does still die. There's not enough to really change that, but we can definitely say Naruto was like maybe Jiraiya told him like he was able to get the notes on like wind chakra transformation from the old man, so it just breaks his heart that little bit more that he wasn't there to help out. And then we end up getting to the Tsunade retrieval mission. So Naruto and Jiraiya are able to leave almost right away. They're in good shape. Neither of them are really hurt or injured. So they're able to leave almost right away. And on the road, Dogen, it's my dog. No, come here. Come here. He's just going to be chilling by me so you can relax. On the road, instead, we'll just have him refining more of the techniques like the lion's mane technique, which he didn't really get to use. He's a little upset about. But he's like refining his lion's mane technique and getting better at like the camouflage technique that Jiraiya taught him. And Jiraiya ends up telling him about, like, to try and get his mind off of the invasion. He ends up telling him about the fact that the Rasengan is technically an incomplete jutsu. That it wasn't perfected because the fourth Hokage was never able to add the change in chakra nature. And this gets Naruto kind of curious. So whenever they're stopping, instead of training in the Rasengan, he's training to properly add the wind element to the Rasengan. Now he's not gonna have the near month that he did in canon. I'm pretty sure it was like a month that he ended up taking to train the Rasen Shuriken. But he does have a better understanding of wind style from the get-go. So instead of getting to like a full-blown Rasen Shuriken, we'll say that by the time he gets to meeting with Tsunade, he's actually able to hold his own against her more than he did in canon at least. He doesn't beat her, but since she's drunk and she's off her game, she's out of shape. So he's actually able to get in close and nearly slams her with a Rasengan that he actually planned to launch at her using a wind style Gale Palm. But she was able to shut him down when she recognized the jutsu, and she was actually able to recognize that he actually had it down solidly. It was like a solidly formed Rasengan that he was about to slam her with, and she's actually a little impressed, and she ends up hearing from him how like he mutters to himself, "Man, I was just about to get it right," and she hears that he's trying to perfect the Rasengan by adding his element to it. So she's like, huh, not even that Kakashi kid could get it down. He ended up making that, what was it called? Chidori? And he was a prodigy. Here's the deal, kid. If you manage to get it down, if you manage to add your wind style to the Rasengan properly, then I'll give you the first Hokage's necklace. And this is going to be what the bet's going to be. It's going to be him developing the basic wind style Rasengan that he used against Kakashi when they were training, instead of the full blown Rasen Shuriken. So it's like going to have those mini blades of wind coming from it. And since he knows the Gale Palm, he's also going to learn how to launch it. So that's going to be what he's going to be training in with all of his shadow clones. And he's able to get it down because of that. He doesn't have like the thousands upon thousands, but he has like 2,000 that he can call upon, at least. 2,000 to like 2,500. And everything with Sasuke ended up meeting Itachi goes about the same. Itachi and Sasuke are both hospitalized. Similar to as in canon, thanks to the Akatsuki showing up, and like that little confrontation was still about the same. I don't really seeing it change too much, just because Naruto is stronger. He considers putting up a fight, but then Sasuke gets folded, and before he can step in, Might Guy and Jiraiya, they both show up. Jiraiya first, and then Might Guy. But yeah, that whole thing went about the same, so no need to worry about too many changes on that part, except for the fact that maybe Sasuke is just definitely feeling a lot more insecure due to how powerful Naruto's gotten. But yeah, he has been training to properly use the his wind style Rasengan, and similarly to how he did before, he learns how to form it in either hand without the use of shadow clones. That's his goal, and he's gonna end up getting it down. We get to the fight between the three-way deadlock. You know, we get to the fight with Orochimaru and Jiraiya and Tsunade, and unlike the Sannin side, that's about the same. But in taking on Kabuto, Naruto is able to hold his own. He's moving around the battlefield with all of his hundreds of shadow clones. They're launching Rasengan after Rasengan after him, and Kabuto is like just barely able to keep himself from getting hit. And Naruto ends up like faking exhaustion. He comes up with a bit of a trick. He ends up faking some chakra exhaustion, and like in his own like in the same manner he normally would, he like kind of to himself but loud enough that Kabuto can hear it. He comments like, "Oh man, all of my training, I'm too tired out." And Kabuto takes advantage of this and gets in close, and attempts to go for the stab, which Naruto is able to grab. And he's in his like that QB mode where you know the eyes and the whiskers sharpen. He has the fangs and the claws, and he's able to actually get a solid grip on Kabuto, and he's actually piercing into his hand using his claws. And he forms his wind style Rasengan, and he shoves it directly into Kabuto's chest and launches him away using the wind style Gale Palm as well. Um, this ends up shooting Kabuto all the way into the rock, and here he actually, we'll say that he just barely survives. Instead of actually being able to stand up, he's basically left knocked out. He's going to be knocked out for a bit. Um, he does wake up so that he is eventually able to escape with Orochimaru, but he's not going to be able to help Orochimaru for a good while. He's going to have to spend some time recovering. Um, the cellular damage isn't as intense on either of them, and that's going to be what takes down Naruto. He managed to avoid getting hit by Kabuto because Kabuto was actually completely off guard when he released some of that QB chakra, and especially when he slammed him with the QB enhanced wind style Rasengan. So he wasn't able to land that hit, but the damage to Naruto's own hand did take him out of the fight. Again, not as intense because it's not the powerful Rasen Shuriken it was in canon. But he's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be using it at close range. I'm going to stick to using that as a more long range technique. And Then they end up going back. Tsunade is able to bring Kakashi and Sasuke out of their coma, so they're gonna be just fine, except for the fact that Sasuke more than ever wants to go to he wants to go to Orochimaru, and we'll say that Sasuke he does have his clash with Naruto on the roof, but Naruto is actually able to hold his own in pure taijutsu, and instead of having to rely on his clones, he actually is able to use his body flicker technique, which allows him to keep up with Sasuke's speed now after copying Rock Lee's taijutsu. It allows the two of them to match each other in terms of speed. Sasuke can predict his moves, at least until he allows himself to use a little bit of the Kyuubi's chakra to keep up. And Sasuke almost ends up awakening the curse mark. And this is what and they're about to slam their jutsus together. Naruto is about to use his basic Rasengan. He doesn't want to use the wind style. He knows how much damage it can do, and the fact that wind style is superior to lightning style, yeah, he doesn't want to take the risk. But he does want to end this fight, so he's about to clash his Rasengan. Kakashi still shows up, throws them both away, and Naruto's Rasengan is even stronger. That instead of just drilling that hole and only blowing the back out of that of the water tower, it noticeably it's noticeably creaking. Like they can actually notice the fact they can see like cracks spreading from the back towards the front. And Naruto thinks, "Ooh, yeah, I definitely got a little too into that." And if anything, this just pisses off Sasuke a little more. And Kakashi and Sasuke end up having their talk. And when he notices that Sasuke is still a little bit more out of it because he's like a lot more downtrodden than before, he even tells him, when you're finally properly finished recovering, I'm going to be teaching you the Raikiri. And this actually gets Sasuke's attention. And he's like, well, it is the more perfected version. Since we had to rush, I couldn't properly teach it to you. It's much more efficient and much more effective. But there is a caveat. Like with before and with the Chidori, this is not a technique to be used on your comrades. And that kind of gets Sasuke to look down. He's After the moment, he's kind of feeling a little bad. And but eventually he is confronted by the Sound Four as in canon, and he still ends up leaving. And the Sasuke retrieval mission is going to go about the same. It's going to be about the same team as in canon. Naruto heads off with everyone, and he is like the entire time he's trying to keep himself focused, but he also wants to get to Sasuke and question him, what the hell does he think he's doing. And when we eventually get to the fight initially against Kimimaru, he actually doesn't hold back since he has better chakra control. He can manage the Kyuubi's chakra a little better, Kurama's chakra, so he's able to once again enter that initial stage. Red eyes, sharpened whiskers, fangs, and claws. And he's like ready to throw down with Kimimaru, who's about to enter his first stage curse mark in response. But Rock Lee still shows up, and Naruto blitz past Kimimaru, and Rock Lee ends up taking on Kimimaru, same as in canon. We could say that maybe he's a little bit more exhausted because maybe he had to pull out his bone armor a little early so that he could tank one of Naruto's explosive shadow clones. But Naruto was able to still meet up with Sasuke. Um, Sasuke was still able to get ahead to the point where they get to the Valley of the End because he copied the the body flicker technique from Naruto, and using his physical speed that he ended up adapting to from Rock Lee with the body flicker, it allowed him to gain that lead until Naruto manages to show up. And here their battle is going to be much more hard fought. Um, Sasuke doesn't actually disengage the curse mark at all because Naruto's already in that initial stage of using Kurama's chakra. So, ooh, sorry if I'm shivering a lot. It's just kind of cold. I kind of want to put on a sweater, but I don't want that. Whatever. Yeah. So their battle's gonna be much more hard fought. They're both starting out in their like initial stages, and Sasuke ends up having to whip out the his Sharingan, which does still evolve, and he needs the Sharingan in the initial stage of the curse mark to keep up with Naruto's new speed and his usage of Kurama's chakra. And Naruto is trying to not too badly injure him, but he also wants to get this over with. So he's using like wind enhanced kunai, which are the chakra is like much more jagged. It's like leaving jagged cuts across whatever surface it ends up ghosting by. Like if it ghosts by a rock face, if they're like fighting on the rock face, it's like leaving jagged, cracked cuts along it, along the wall, along the canyon of the valley. Or if it's going over the water, it's like leaving what almost looks like a lightning path across the water before it settles. And Sasuke, seeing this, actually ends up picking up his. He ends up developing his own, like mid battle. He starts to channel lightning chakra through his own weapons, and they're clashing with one another. Naruto ends up pulling like some of that stuff from the filler fight with all of his shadow clones, where like he slams Sasuke into like the rock face, uh, and their battle ends up continuing until Naruto ends up calling upon more of the Kyuubi's chakra. But here he's not so feral. He's actually a little bit more in control of himself in the one-tailed state. And Sasuke, in response, ends up awakening the second stage of the curse mark in its full entirety. He pulls out the wings, and here instead of just, I think they like almost immediately clashed their Rasengan and Chidori, but here they're actually gonna be fighting in it. Like to whenever Naruto's like making use of chakra arms and his tails, and Sasuke still develops his three tomoe, and with it he had seen Kakashi pull out the Raikiri, because like he did show him it, and then he told him that he was gonna teach him the Chidori, the initial stage that he developed when he was younger. He does have it in his head. He does have it recorded by his Sharingan. He's just never been able to use it. But with the power of the curse mark, he actually pulls out, instead of like the Chidori Lament, he pulls out the Raikiri Lament, the black the a black Raikiri. And in response, seeing that it's definitely much more powerful, Naruto forms a wind style Rasengan, and they both charge towards each other, and they still have that same final clash, but it's a lot more devastating to the environment. And Naruto is still knocked out. He had been letting the Kyuubi's influence get to him for like a longer period of time ever since the battle against Kimimaru, so he was a little bit more mentally exhausted, and he ended up getting knocked out. But Sasuke can feel the strain that was put on his body, and he definitely knows that he's going to have to get much stronger than what he currently is. If Naruto was able to grow so quickly, he can't afford to fall back. But he does still make his vow. He's not going to go down the same path that Itachi did. And if he does end up gaining those eyes, he'll be gaining it his own way. So Sasuke still leaves the village. Naruto's picked up by Kakashi, and they all retreat back to Konoha. Everyone ends up going through the same healing process. Naruto still has to heal, as well as a little bit of his hand once more. Maybe he used his left hand so he wouldn't completely damage it, so that he wouldn't worsen whatever injuries he may have had from his right hand. But either way, they all get healed up by Tsunade, and Naruto still makes his promise to Sakura, and he leaves for his 2.5 year training trip. This is where things are going to get crazy. Naruto, or Jiraiya specifically, actually decided, since he already went to his master for help in training Naruto once, he's gonna do it again even if he's not around. So with Tsunade's permission, he he gets with Tsunade's and probably Asuma, since he's now the Sarutobi clan head. With their permission, he gets a few jutsu from the Forbidden Scroll of Sealing that Naruto learned the Shadow Clone Jutsu from, and he gets like the Hiraishin notes from. He gets the Hiraishin, both the version that the second and fourth Hokage developed, and he also gets the Genjutsu, the Bringer of Darkness Jutsu, that Tobirama developed to battle against Uchihas during the Warring States period. And those are going to be the two main jutsus he gets from there. He's also going to get Sarutobi's notes, and like a scroll that he probably has like from his time as the professor, detailing how he went about training to develop chakra affinities with, or mastering all five basic chakra natures, despite the fact he didn't have an affinity for all five. And he's going to be using this to train Naruto, so that he can have the edge not only against the Uchiha kid, who he can already tell he's going to be chasing down similarly to how he tried to chase down Orochimaru, no matter how much he might try to talk him out of it, but against the Akatsuki as well. So, over the course of the next 2.5 years for the training trip, Naruto is going to be learning much better increased chakra control so that he can use the Bringer of Darkness Genjutsu. He learns how to break out of Genjutsu. He is going to learn how to use all five chakra natures, and he's going to apply them to the Rasengan. It's going to take him some time, but with better chakra control, he can make more shadow clones out of the chakra that he has, and he's able to get them down. He's also able to improve his wind style Rasengan and develops the Rasen Shuriken. And here he actually has a bit of an easier time in developing his control with Kurama's chakra. He's able to get it so that he can use the version 1 cloak state, the version 1 cloak where, it's just the basic chakra cloak, the bubbly red one that he used against Sasuke, and he can control himself at 3 tails. He starts to lose control at 4 tails and starts to slip into the version 2 state, which he doesn't have control of just yet. And to give him an edge outside of the Kyuubi's chakra, Jiraiya decides to teach him about Sage Mode. So we'll say he does this during the last 6 months. He's able to get everything else down over the course of the first 2 years. And for the last 6 months, he is able to teach him how to. He teaches him how to. He takes him to Mount Miyoboku, and he is training in Sage Mode. And since his pupil is training in Sage Mode, he decides to perfect his own Sage Mode. And because of this, Jiraiya is actually going to have perfect Sage Mode. It's never really stated if it's more powerful, but it's definitely going to be more convenient. That's not to say he won't have Ma and Pa with him whenever he's in Sage Mode. He's gotten used to fighting with them whenever he's making use of that power. But now he's able to enter the state much more easily and much more quickly. He doesn't have to stall for time in the middle of a battle. And he even learns of Naruto's form that he learns from Naruto's making of shadow clones and then reverse summoning them and having them poof so that they can give him Sage Mode much more quickly. And he also teaches him some more about sealing. So he's going to be able to do some chakra seals against enemies. Like maybe he learns the 5-element seal, similar to what Orochimaru put on him. And he also learns how to develop those chakra seal tags that Kakashi and Jiraiya had to use on Naruto when he was training the Kyuubi chakra. And he designs it so that he can use it against his enemies, and it will temporarily shut down their chakra network. So he can just take you out of the fight if he manages to slap you with it. And he is going to learn those techniques. He also learns the Hiraishin, and he manages to develop his own, unique version of it, which gives him more of a red flash. Probably it can be more of a red or orange flash, but either way, he's going to learn how to use the Hiraishin. And with his now much more improved speed, and if he manages to use it while in Sage Mode, he's going to be extremely dangerous. And if you want to come up with an idea, as for his elemental Rasengans, he still has the Wind style Rasen Shuriken. The Fire style is probably going to be similar to the Rasen Shuriken in that it's from a range, mid to close range or mid to long range. He has to throw it so that he's not in the blast zone, and it just creates a big fiery swirling explosion. It actually expands in size. So it'll basically almost be like Esconor's Cruel Sun. He launches it at an opponent, and it ends up expanding in size when it ends up hitting its target. It'll expand in size and burn a certain area. And the more chakra he puts into it, the larger the area it expands to before exploding. The Earth style will be similar to that Magnet style Rasengan he made during the Fourth War. It's going to be more of a ceiling based, so he hits an opponent with it. It does about the same amount of damage as a normal Rasengan, but it's actually able to sustain itself. And as long as the opponent is grounded, it'll be able to drain their chakra in order to keep the Rasengan going, and to allow the rocks that are in it, like the earth that's in it, to creep around the target's body, like those seals that he used in the Magnet style. It'll creep around the target's body and seal them in this kind of earth that drains their chakra. And he can hit people like midair with it, and it'll like immobilize them and drain their chakra. But if they're strong enough, they can break out. But if they're grounded on the ground, it'll continuously drain their chakra because it'll connect to the earth and it'll like seal them up. So definitely a useful sealing technique. His water style is literally similarly to the fire style. It's more like an area of effect move. He's able to launch it if he needs to, but it's good at close range. It's good at all ranges, and he's able to launch it at an enemy, and it'll create like a whirlpool effect. It'll draw in all the opponents and and like they'll all be drawn in towards the Rasengan in the middle of the water. And it's best that he actually uses this in a body of water, but he can use this on the ground, and it'll just flood the area before pulling them all in. Sorry, before pulling them all in with the whirlpool effect of the Rasengan. And for the lightning style, he takes some inspiration from the Chidori and the Raikiri, and he creates like a swirling spear of lightning chakra that can, again, it can be used at all ranges. And he uses it only in Sage mode because he has to compensate for the fact that similarly with the Chidori and the, or no, since he's trained his senses enough to use the Hiraishin, he either has to use it. He typically uses it with the Hiraishin, and it's a piercing move, but it's more of like an armor piercing move. It's a really heavy attack, and it'll pierce through people with like some kind of natural armor. He kind of made it. When he ended up discovering what it could truly accomplish, he vowed that it was definitely a killer technique. Some of his other ones he could hold back how powerful they were. They were all S ranked, but he could dial back how much chakra they had. But this was definitely an even more insane assassination technique than the Raikiri or Chidori. It could literally just punch a hole through anything, through almost anything he faces against. And yeah, it'll be like the Rasa and Yari, like the spiraling spear. Instead of sphere, it's the spiraling spear of lightning. And yeah, and he'll also have like some basic techniques. So like he'll have like electromagnetic murder, um, some kind of like thunder shock, basically any technique that you end up seeing from canon. He can probably use it. The Great Wind Breakthrough, the Fire Style, Fireball and Great Fireball Jutsu, uh, the Ash technique that Asuma uses, and like for Earth Style, he can pull off like the Earth Wall or the Mud Dragon, the Water Dragon Jutsu for Water Style, the Water Wall Jutsu. Um, yeah, he's gonna be able to pull off like whatever the hell he wants, basically. And he's also learned how to use these combo moves with these summons. And the only one he really can't use is like lightning style, unless they use some kind of water style jutsu. Never mind. He can use all of his jutsus as combos, not only with his clones but with his toad summons. And when he gets back to Konoha, and he has his bell test with Kakashi and Sakura, um, he pulls out the Raishin and gives Kakashi a bit of a heart attack and like some PTSD from when he trained with Minato with Minato. Oh, and he's gonna be rocking that sage cloak, by the way. That awesome sage cloak that he has and that cool scroll that he has. He's gonna be rocking that like straight from the get go. He's not gonna be losing that for any reason whatsoever. He's gonna be holding on to that. That was so cool. I love that look. But yeah, that's gonna be his look from like the get go, and he is ready to take down whoever he needs to. The battle test goes about the same, except it doesn't go on until the night. Like they end up winning after like a few hours, and that's mainly just because Naruto is kind of messing with everyone with how powerful he's gotten. And Tsunade just straight up, when she learns how many S rank techniques he's developed, the fact that he's a master sage, and that he's improved in sealing techniques so far, and that he's mastered all five basic chakra natures, she just basically makes him a Jonin. She can't completely make him. She can give him. Yeah, no, she can give him the promotion straight to Jonin just like that if she needs to. We can easily say that Jiraiya also gave him some basic reading material, so he could get that studying done. And even if he doesn't, he can get that studying done in like a day or a few days, however long it takes until they have to go rescue Gara. That was like probably like what, a week later maybe. So like a week later, he's been promoted to special Jonin for now until he can get that proper promotion. But this mission is probably just gonna give him a straight up field promotion. They go out to retrieve Gara, and here Naruto is actually able to take care of Deidara when they first see him. He's probably actually able to release the seal that's keeping the place where they're draining the tailed beast from Gara. But they aren't able to save him before it's finished. They're probably able to get through like a few minutes earlier, or he just has all of his clones release the seal all at once immediately, so they don't have to wait for Team Guy. They're able to go in immediately, and Naruto is able to. He instantly jumps into the fray. He doesn't wait. He jumps into the fray with a Horizon, and he's able to take out Deidara almost immediately with like a big ball Rasengan. And he also had transformed one of his clones, a clone, into a kunai that he also threw towards Sasori, who tried to deflect it, thinking he was trying to get in close with his Horizon that he just saw him use. But it actually transforms into Naruto, into one of his clones, and he uses his own Big Ball Rasengan to completely break through his Hiriko shell. Deidara is already out from the count from the Big Ball Rasengan, and because of this, he moves on to completely ganging up on Sasori with everyone. Maybe he has that clone that broke the Hiriko shell take Gara back to Granny Chio, and they get to their battle against Sasori, but it's everyone here ganging up on him. Deidara is probably able to get away. He was knocked out from the Big Ball Rasengan, and if you want to say it didn't kill him, he can get away. But what really matters is that they take that weird ring from him, because Kakashi sees him trying to get away, and he kamuis his head. And Naruto, with the help of Sakura and Granny Chio, mainly from Granny Chio, who is puppeting Sakura, and all the advice she has on his puppets and stuff. When he pulls out his puppets, he pulls that stuff from the Suku what was it, the Infinite Tsukuyomi filler, where his parents were alive. Yeah, he makes like a whole bunch of shadow clones and uses the Rasengan against all of the puppets, and he even uses a fire style Rasengan against those 10 Chigamatsu puppets or whatever, or were those from Lady Chio? Whatever. He's able to take out Sasori's puppets, and he's about to land the finishing blow, but Sasori ends up giving the information about Orochimaru and how they might be able to track him down, which he does listen to before Chio interrupts. Like after they get the information out of him, Chio has him killed by the puppets of his parents that he ended up making, and here we can say that Chio, with the help of Naruto, is able to revive Gara. Like he uses some of his Kyuubi chakra, although maybe when he notices this, he cuts him off immediately. He doesn't want to help another Jinchuriki. He doesn't even like the one he has. He's a bit of an ass. He's like a bit of a smart mouth, so he doesn't even like Naruto. So he's not going to help him save Gara. And Chio does still have to use the resurrection jutsu that you use at the cost of your own life. It was like something along those lines. She uses that resurrection jutsu to revive Gara, and they end up going back to Konoha, and Naruto is given the field promotion to Jonin, and we end up moving since Kakashi did still have to use Kamui, so he's going to be taken out of commission for a while, and because of this, we do still get the reassignment of Yamato and Sai to Team 7. Here, when he meets Sai, he actually wonders if he uses some kind of sealing techniques, but then he sees him using his paintings, his drawings, and he's kind of intrigued, but he also still thinks Sai is a bit of an ass. and a weird smart mouth. Uh, we get our same introduction to Yamato, um, and everything is about gonna go the same when they end up invading Orochimaru's hideout. So they're gonna have the battle at the bridge. Goes about the same. Naruto is pissed when he shows up, but he was able to collect himself, and as he was as they were waiting, he actually went into sage mode. So when he pops up at the bridge, he's in sage mode, and he's pissed enough that he's in that sage mode QB sage mode that he was in when he was talking to Nagato. He's actually in that version of sage mode, but he's not gonna let Kurama have his way. He uses his chakra control and is able to cut off a little portion of Kurama's chakra that he was trying to use to weaken the seal, and is able to use it to power up his sage mode. And this is what he ends up using to face off against Orochimaru. And here the battle is much more in his favor. Um, when he's able to blast him away using a big ball Rasengan, and he also kind of traumatizes Kabuto in a similar way to in canon. Instead of a complete monster, he actually looks at him and he smirks and he asks if he wants another taste of that wind style Rasengan. He's perfected it by now. But no, he instead leaves Kabuto to Sai, Yamato, and Sakura, while he continues his battle with Orochimaru. He is able to pull out all of his techniques. He's able to pull out the Fireball Rasengan to take down the Rashomon. The triple Rashomon. He's actually able to launch. He's able to take him down with the first one. He's able to take down with a fire style Fireball Rasengan, and is able to plow through the first two, and it ends up nearly destroying the third one, which he just plows through personally with a big ball fire style Rasengan. And he charges directly towards Orochimaru, who instantly, like, he does a slither out technique. He does that technique where he slithers out of his body after he manages to recover, and he ends up fleeing away from the battle. Uh, Naruto is just about to stop him, but he also considers that he might be able to get to Sasuke. It'd be better if he let Orochimaru flee to his hideout so that he could get to Sasuke. So what he instead does is that he charges forward, engages in a brief scuffle of taijutsu long enough for his QB enhanced Sage Mode to run out. But he did manage to slap his Hiraishin seal onto him, and he gets knocked away by Orochimaru and flees. Kabuto ends up striking. Kabuto and Sai and Orochimaru have their same thing where Sai looks like he's about to betray everyone, when in reality he's just trying to kill Sasuke. And yeah, we don't have to worry about version 2 Naruto effing up Sakura. She's gonna be fine. They end up getting to the hideout. They actually teleport directly to Orochimaru. And when this happens, since they teleport directly to Orochimaru, they do it when Orochimaru introduces Sai to Sasuke in like that little courtroom. They end up teleporting around that time, and he instantly slams Orochimaru with another big ball Rasengan, and he once again prepared himself by going into Sage Mode. He slammed it directly into him, and he also threw a kunai directly towards Kabuto, who managed to get out of the way, but once again it just transformed into a clone, and he decides to live up to his promise. He slams him with a wind style Rasengan and launches him away, and yeah, he's dead. And if he's not, Naruto just straight up throws a wind enhanced kunai directly into his head. So Kabuto is killed, and Orochimaru is about to be killed as well. Sai tries to go for Sasuke in the confusion, but he manages to get away. And here the battle kind of devolves. It kind of dissolves here. They kind of get into a bit of a free-for-all. Sasuke jumps into the battle between Orochimaru and Naruto, and he makes it seem like he's trying to help Naruto by fighting against Orochimaru. And Orochimaru is trying to engage the curse mark, like whatever failsafe he has in the curse mark. But he's weakened enough from another big ball Rasengan from Naruto that he doesn't have enough chakra to keep himself from being killed by Naruto and to engage whatever functions he has on the curse mark. And Sasuke is able to get into that same position that he did in canon, where he ends up stabbing him using his Chidori Aso, or perhaps it's just more of his own lightning style, lightning spear, since he managed to pull out the Raikiri. So he's actually improved his lightning style here and his usage of lightning-based techniques. He is able to stab through Orochimaru, and he engages the Curse Mark II, and he has that same confrontation in his mindscape with Orochimaru, because he's in about the same bad condition that he was in canon, and he manages to absorb him, which briefly actually catches Naruto off guard. And Naruto is also trying to keep Sai from killing Sasuke, so he allows this to happen. And they all witness as he absorbs Orochimaru into himself. And he looks over at Naruto and he observes those weird markings in his eyes. And like using the knowledge he has from Orochimaru, he like is actually able to do Sage Mode. And he kind of mutters it to himself. He wonders about it, and he knows he's definitely going to be looking into it. So what he ends up doing is that in his stage 2 curse mark, now enhanced by Orochimaru's chakra, he engages against Sage Mode Naruto, who is flagging a little bit. They fought against Orochimaru for a few minutes, and even though he's definitely gotten better with it, he's also trying not to kill Sasuke. He's definitely trying to incapacitate him, and he asks him like, "What the hell did he just do?" And he explains that he absorbed Orochimaru's chakra, and he's taken his techniques and power for himself. And Naruto wonders if that's gonna allow Orochimaru to take control, but he tells him not to worry about himself, and they go back into the battle. Sasuke is actually able to decently hold his own against Sage Mode Naruto, but it's clear who holds the advantage. So Sasuke ends up retreating. He pulls that same weird technique that Orochimaru used, and he also made note when Orochimaru came back of that weird seal that was on him, that weird little marker of chakra, and he sees Naruto actually constantly trying to go to like tag him with something that is similar, like a similar shape of chakra. So he actually avoids getting the Hiraishin put onto him. Naruto, if he was actually trying more, probably could have managed it, but he was also dealing with some backseat driving from Yamato and Sai, who was trying to kill Sasuke, and some from Yamato, who was trying to tell him to get out of the way, and or not so much get out of the way, but to let them actually assist in the battle. So Sasuke does still manage to get away. We'll say that maybe he even used a Kirin as a distraction, because if you don't know, when he was raising his hand in the canon fight when he first met with Naruto in Shippuden, he raised his hand up and it seemed like he was about to cast Kirin, despite the fact that there were very few clouds in the sky, and there definitely wasn't a thundercloud. So maybe he used a Sage Mode or a Cursed Mark to enhance Kirin against everyone, and Naruto decided he definitely had to prioritize this and protecting everyone. Yamato was able to bring in Sakura and Sai and encase them in a wooden barrier, whereas Naruto threw down a ceiling matrix with some clones to absorb the natural chakra, since it's actually pulled from nature and requires very little chakra, and even more so since he enhanced it with Curse Mark Stage 2. It was actually more charged with nature energy than it was anything else. So he had to pull out a specialized seal he made to neutralize natural energy. He had actually made it specifically to deal with his curse mark. Jiraiya told him about the origins of the curse mark and why Orochimaru made it and what exactly it used when he was teaching him Sage Mode. But yeah, Sasuke ends up getting away and he's killed Orochimaru much earlier. So he's actually going to be forming that Team Taka of his. And since Data has been killed, he's not going to be worried about confronting and having his battle with him. What he's actually going to do is to look into Sage Mode and these memories from Orochimaru regarding a place called Ryuchi Cave. He's considering looking towards a power that Orochimaru was never able to truly master, greater than even this so-called curse mark. So Sasuke is actually he's going to assemble his team a little earlier, and also looking to up his advantage since he saw Naruto utilizing elemental ninjutsu against Orochimaru. He decides to also up his advantage by I'm going with this. He's just gonna get the Kiba blades. I saw this in a fan fiction and I thought it was cool. He's going to get those Kiba blades, those two lightning blades from the Hidden Mist village, and we'll say it's in that one village from the filler, from that filler arc with Raiga. I think that's what his name was, and that weird kid that he had in his backpack or whatever, with like the weird unnamed dojutsu. Yeah, he's gonna get those blades. Maybe he is able to convince Suigetsu to come along with him, and he's like, if you can pull those blades out, they're yours, but if you can't, they're mine. And Suigetsu doesn't manage to pull them out, so he's like, as compensation, I'll take you to the Executioner's Blade. And he takes him to get the Executioner's Blade. He meets up with Karin, and then they go to get Jugo. And he actually brings Jugo specifically along with him to Ryuchi Cave using Orochimaru's memories. And him and Jugo are going to be training to master natural energy. And he tells Karin and Suigetsu to behave, to work together, and to gather any information they can on the movements of the Akatsuki and specifically Uchiha Itachi. So Sasuke's going to be training for a month. He's going to be training basically until where he normally would have ended up having his battle with Itachi after Pain's invasion. And here, as a consequence, Naruto actually ends up going back to the Leaf Village, and he's actually going to be training for a while. Um, they're going to Konoha is going to make that same decision to assemble their teams to fight against the Akatsuki. And while Naruto does want to join, he is forbidden from doing so. They know he's capable, but they definitely don't want to risk anything. Plenty of the other Jinchuriki were capable themselves. They were all S rank. And even though Naruto has definitely risen to S rank himself, they don't want to risk anything. Sadly, but as a precaution, every every team he ends up giving, they do make a bit of a compromise. So he gives a Raishin Kunai to every team that is heading out to face off against and track down the Akatsuki. And and like in regards to the Three Tails, we can easily say Obito manages to catch it himself, and they end up going against Team Asuma. Team Asuma still ends up having their battle against Hidan and Kakuzu. The only difference is that Naruto ends up teleporting to the scene when Shikamaru throws down the Hiraishin Kunai, and he manages to save Asuma from being killed. He uses a sealing matrix to, similarly to the contract seal that Minato used against Obito. He manages to break whatever connection that is between Hidan and Asuma, and he cuts off Hidan's head. Doesn't waste any time. But the main battle is going to be against Kakuzu, and he's able to hold on. He's able to hold his own using a series of clones, all countering whatever element he tries to throw at him. And one by one, he's able to cut down each of the masks, the hearts. He's able to like throw a Rasen Yari through the Earth style mask. He is able to use a water style Rasengan to seal the movements of the fire style mask before actually hitting it with the Rasengan. He uses his Rasen Shuriken in Sage mode and launches it directly into the lightning style heart, and he uses Earth style yeah, against what, the water style. Yeah, he uses Earth against the water style heart, and is able to get the final blow on Kakuzu using um, a Raikiri, which, let's say he learned it from Kakashi, trained with him a little bit, and since he already learned his Rasen Yari, he decided to reward him by teaching him the Raikiri, which would which is a downgrade from the Rasen Yari, but isn't as destructive. So he actually nails directly Kakuzu in his final heart with the Raikiri, and he's able to kill Hidan and Kakuzu much more early. And the Two Tails is still retrieved. I'm pretty sure they did it before Konoha went after them. But here Asuma doesn't die, but we can easily say he's still in pretty bad condition. So he's going to have to take some time to recover in Konoha. After all of these recent losses, Sasori, Deidara, and now Kakuzu and Hidan, Pain begins to prepare himself for the invasion of Konoha. And if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure the battle against Itachi was after. So right now, Sasuke is still. He's already gone through the first stage of his training where he got bit by the Great White Snake stage, and in doing so, injecting pure raw natural energy instead of Orochimaru's tainted one, he's able to actually erode the curse mark and Orochimaru's influence inside of it. So Orochimaru's not going to be a problem for Sasuke anymore. And his main training partner is going to be against Jugo and probably Manda, who, with the help of Aoda, his own personal sake summon, he actually kills and has Aoda replace him as the big boss summon. Oh Jesus, sorry about the almost sneeze. So yeah, Sasuke is now he's on his way towards mastering his Snake Sage mode, which you can just search up some fan art if you want. He's gonna get those kind of same purple markings, and since because of his experience with using the curse mark, he's actually able to deactivate and he's actually able to activate and deactivate his transformation. So he's able to look normal if he wants to, but he can also almost permanently stay in the form of Sage mode. And in learning how to use the inorganic reanimation, which allows him to influence the environment around him, he actually learns how to use Earth style, and he learns those same weird dragon serpent techniques that Kabuto was able to use. But he's not gonna have all the powers of all those other the Sound Four and stuff. Um, but he does practice with the Kiba blades as well, and I also saw in like Plus Ultraman's What If on YouTube. He's pretty cool. One of his What Ifs, he also gave Sasuke the Kiba blades, and he was able to make like this bow of lightning that almost looked like the bow his Susanoo used for the Indra Zero. So that's actually going to be his other. That's going to be his new Sage mode technique. He's going to like slam the Kiba blades together. He makes a black bow of lightning, and he shoots like a lightning arrow from it. And that's gonna be his. That's gonna be like his signature attack, right next to the Kirin and his inorganic reanimation. And he's actually able to help Jugo gain control of himself, so he's not going to be completely losing his mind when he transforms. He's still gonna be like kind of out of it. He's gonna be like a little more guttural, but he's gonna know friend from foe, and he's not gonna be relentlessly attacking like a mindless animal. He's able to direct himself thanks to his training in proper Sage mode. And Sasuke does eventually leave. He starts traveling. He heard about Naruto taking down more Akatsuki members, and he's going to be traveling a bit so that he can get himself ready to face off against Itachi. And here, in when Jiraiya goes to invade the Rain Village, um, instead of dying, he's not going to die, but he is still going to lose his arm. Since he was able to hold his own in in canon with proper Sage mode, he is still going to have Monpa with him because, like I said, he's used to fighting like that. But with proper Sage mode, he's not only able to enter Sage mode earlier in the fight, so he doesn't have to stall like he did in canon. He's actually able to hold it for a longer period of time. And he's actually able to make it last towards the end of the fight. And instead of having to write that message, he's able to get Fukasaku and all of them. He actually has one of his clones from Mount Miyaboku, like near the end of the battle, just before he's about to get caught off guard and have his throat crushed and his arm cut off. Let's say he does lose his arm, but he doesn't get his throat crushed. He's able to just manage to avoid that. Like he uses his arm to actually his remaining arm to catch the hand that's about to crush his throat. And he's not pinned down. Maybe he has like one or two of the rods stuck in him, and it's messing with his Sage mode. But he was able to make a clone and then have it disperse, or he was able to make a clone, have it go back with Shima to Mount Miyaboku. It dispersed to alert his other clones, who one of them reverse summoned Jiraiya to Mount Miyaboku, while the other two allowed themselves to be summoned to the battlefield. So they stalled long enough for Jiraiya to be reverse summoned by his final clone to Mount Miyaboku, which then dispersed itself and allowed its Sage mode to immediately strengthen Jiraiya's body enough that he could have his toads get him and themselves to Konoha so that he could be treated by Tsunade. So here he's in critical condition. He's lost an arm, and it's probably gonna permanent. He's probably like some permanent injuries, or at least they would have been if it wasn't for the fact that Tsunade is able to treat him. And here, Naruto, instead of training to master Sage Mode, since he's already mastered it by this point, he trains to more properly use the Kyuubi's chakra. And here he actually has a confrontation with the Kyuubi. And we could say that he does it at Mount Myoboku instead of having to go to that island where he has to face his inner self. Let's say instead of having to face against his inner self at the Waterfall of Truth, we can say that maybe the sages, the old Toad Sage of Mount Myoboku, was able to help make something similar happen so that he's still able to face his inner self that's been influenced and strengthened by the Kyuubi. They have their battle, but he accepts it as a part of himself. And maybe it's a bit more hard fought battle, but it's actually going to take like a few tries since he's in turmoil now that his master has been injured so greatly, and he knows Sasuke is still out there with the absorbed Orochimaru within him. But he is he is eventually able to face off against his inner self, and he uses the key that Jiraiya gave to him while he was recovering. He gave him the key, or maybe he also gave it to him before. He still uses that key to undo the seal on Kurama, and here his battle is much more easily fought, especially since here he's not like about to completely tear off the seal due to being influenced by the Kyuubi. He does get he does get to actually talk to Minato, and he actually gets to talk to Minato and Kushina, and the both of them are able to help him out in his battle. So this is Naruto being stronger, having all access to all five elements, having much better control over Sage Mode, and being able to have help from both of his parents in this battle, since he's not going to waste Minato's time with that with losing control in the battle against Pain. He's actually able to beat Kurama without the help of the Eight Tails and B. So he's able to beat back Kurama, and he ends up unlocking KCM 1. And if you want to know about his look with the cloak, he's gonna look like how Minato does. Because if you don't know, Minato doesn't actually have slitted eyes in his KCM, and all of his thing is mainly black on gold. Like he's mainly gold. Like he doesn't have like the black on his undershirt. He doesn't manifest the chakra cloak. It's just his Hokage cloak. It's similar to Naruto's KCM 1. So here he's gonna have KCM 1 just with an extra golden cloak. It's not gonna look like KCM 2 just yet. So it's not extending towards those big old sleeves. It's not like the popped up color. He just looks like he does with his Sage Cloak on, but it has that KCM 1 skin over it basically. And over the course of a month, he is training this power. Maybe he's training it at Mount Myoboku instead of in Konoha. He's training at Mount Myoboku still, and he gets enough control over this KCM 1 that he actually learns how to use KCM 1 with Sage Mode. And it's not going to be the cross. That's my sister getting mad at her cat. But it's not going to be the cross-shaped eye, because in KCM 1 he doesn't have a slit eye. His iris is still the same shape. So it's just going to be the bar, and he's still going to have the Sage Mode markings. But this, in terms of power, at least, is going to put him around KCM 2 Naruto level. But he has much better chakra control, and he's gonna be able to make this last. He's able to get much more used to it, and let's say during this time, he is actually able to conversate with the Kyuubi since he ended up changing up the seal. He's better. He's able to establish a bit of a relationship with the Kyuubi, and he doesn't know his name, but they are bantering, kind of like they did during the war. So they're like trading barbs and insults with one another. But Naruto does make it clear he's going to save Sasuke, and then he's going to come and save him too. So Pain's invasion begins. Jiraiya and Asuma have both just about recovered, but Jiraiya is still without an arm, sadly. And Naruto is in the village from the get-go. So the second he hears, like the second they end up making a commotion, he instantly goes into KCM 1. He just closes his eyes. He makes like 6 or 7 clones for himself to assist them because he's aware of the pains. He's aware that there's six pains and Conan as well, and he also enters into Sage mode on top of it, and he instantly charges out into the battle. He grabs each and every single one of them before they can even realize what's happening, and he teleports them away, where he teleports them to different locations across all of Konoha, like across the various training grounds, and one by one he takes them all out with his main self going for the Deva path. Um, like because Jiraiya had noted how he wasn't actually able to get a read on that one's abilities. The others he was able to get a good amount of read on, but he ends up dismantling each of the pains. And he mainly has the one against Conan. It's one of his weaker clones, and he's mainly doing that just to hold her off and to keep her from interfering in his main battle against the Diva Path. Which, since he almost immediately kills all of the other pains, um, before they can actually get involved and really show their synergy and teamwork and how deadly they are, Nagato is able to put all of his focus directly onto the Deva path, and he's able to get to the point where he's about to create a Chibaku Tensei, but Naruto ends up interrupting him. He uses some kind of sealing matrix to again another kind of contract seal to, or some kind of barrier that completely cuts off all chakra in the area, so he's able to prevent the pains from receiving. He's able to prevent the Diva Path pain from receiving any chakra. He ends up taking the rod out. He stabs himself with it, and with his much better enhanced censoring capabilities, with KCM1 and Sage Mode stacked on top of it, he's able to track down Nagato, and they end up having a similar conversation. And he already dispersed his clones, so he let Conan. He brought Conan along with him to Nagato, and they had their similar Takano Jutsu. And here, Nagato doesn't give up. He doesn't cast Rinne Rebirth. He decides to come to a decision instead, and that decision is to entrust his will onto Naruto. So he's not going to be using the Rinne Rebirth, and even if he does, it's probably for like only a few casualties he maybe did in like the few minutes it took for Naruto to realize he was there and actually engage against him in battle. So like maybe there were a few casualties, there was some destruction, but it wasn't so widespread that Naruto couldn't handle it. And he decides to give Naruto his Rinnegan. With his final breath, he tells Konan to perform the surgery, and he tells him that he entrusts him with these eyes, the eyes of the Sage of Six Path, to forge a path into the world, to forge a new path into the world. So Naruto, reluctantly at first, but eventually does. He will say that he doesn't immediately accept, but he does accept holding on to the Rinnegan. So he seals them away, and he's like, Conan is kind of insistent that she do it right now, but Naruto like points out like these seem like pretty powerful eyes, and I get that you want to do right by him, but I kind of don't trust you. You almost killed my master, so you should be lucky that I'm letting you leave, and letting you leave alive, which Conan kind of realizes. So she ends up leaving, and she's actually making a plan so that she can get Madara's attention away from the Rinnegan. And Naruto goes back to the village, and he talks to Tsunade and Jiraiya about the Rinnegan, and he asks them for their opinion. And Jiraiya thinks that he should do it. It'll give him access to a very powerful weapon to turn against the Akatsuki, and we can also say that Nagato, since he's like not near death, didn't drain as much chakra. He actually told him about the plan make to combine all of the tailed beasts into the 10 tails, and um, to then use it to either cast the Infinite Tsukuyomi. I don't know if he knew about the Infinite Tsukuyomi, but either to cast the Infinite Tsukuyomi or to just force the world to unite in peace with the all-powerful weapon of the 10 tails. So he tells this to Jiraiya and Tsunade, and we'll say that Danzo ends up learning about this, and he tries to steal the Rinnegan, but Naruto is more than well equipped to hold on to them and to hold off Danzo. He seals him away, and he hasn't decided whether or not he wants to go through with the surgery or not, but they end up exposing Danzo, and they have to deal with Danzo for now. And that's gonna be what Konoha is dealing with for now, as Sasuke goes off to face off against Itachi, and his team is ended up is held off by Kasame. Um, so he's gonna have his battle with Itachi a little bit earlier, and his team, consisting of a much stronger Jugo, especially, is actually able to push back and nearly defeat Kasame, as Sasuke is having his battle with Itachi. The battle starts off similarly, about the same. He's using the Kusanagi blade that he got from Orochimaru to initially start off the battle, and he ends up pulling out the Kiba blades around halfway through, and is able to. He's starting to gain the upper hand before Itachi starts putting in more effort. He activates his Mangekyo Sharingan, and in response, Sasuke ends up entering into his Sage mode, his Snake Sage mode, and he's able to manipulate the entire Uchiha hideout to turn against Itachi. He's keeping him from sticking to the wall or the ceiling, and the battle is getting much more tense, and it's actually a lot more even. He's firing off shots from his newly formed nature enhanced lightning bow, and each of them gets really close to piercing Itachi, but he is eventually forced into calling out his Susanoo much earlier when he pulls off that weird dragon technique that Kabuto had. But he quickly realizes that since Sasuke is using nature energy to enhance his attacks, similarly to how Sage Mode is able to get through the truth-seeking orbs, he's actually able to pierce through the Yata mirror. It's not able to get through his base Susanoo, especially when he pushes it into its armor stage. But in response, Sasuke ends up calling down a Senjutsu enhanced Kirin and is able to blast the area. He had to completely keep up his armored Susanoo, and he's definitely flagging a lot more than in canon. But Sasuke actually ends up winning the battle. He's not as winded, and it's actually more of an official win for him than it was just Itachi not trying hard enough. And around this point, he does end up being. We can say that he's knocked out by Obito, because he does end up relaxing after the battle. He lets go of his Sage mode after he senses that Jugo and everyone else has managed to push back Kisame. So he relaxes out of his Sage mode and out of his Sharingan state, and he ends up getting knocked out by Obito. And he is still kidnapped, and he still ends up revealing to him what actually happened. And Sasuke ends up learning about the truth about Itachi and what actually happened the night of the massacre. And because of this, he declares his want for vengeance against the Hidden Leaf village, not knowing that Naruto in the Hidden Leaf is already making Danzo pay for his deeds by killing him. They ended up after he made his attempt to go after the Rinnegan, and trying to put Tsunade into a coma and even assassinate Jiraiya in his weakened state. They all managed to save themselves. They regrouped, and they completely flushed out Root and Danzo. They learned about what he did. They learned about his eyes, and Naruto, with his ability to use Sage Mode Enhanced KCM1, was able to blitz Danzo and was able to kill him every single time he tried to use his Izanagi. He was able to kill him every single time and make him waste it much more quickly. And when he's about to try to reveal his eye to use Kodo Matsukami, Naruto blitzes him so fast using the Horizon, which he managed to slap onto him. He just instantly teleports to him and rips out Shisui's eye and teleports away. And as a side note, Itachi never had that brief meeting with Naruto. So right now they only have one of Shisui's eyes. The other eye is with a crow that is probably going to make its way towards Sasuke soon, using its pre-programmed orders. Since Naruto wasn't there, he instead set it to release itself sometime after what he predicted would be the end of the battle, maybe like the next day, and it would. He gave it orders to track down Sasuke, and when they would make eye contact, it would cast the Kodo Matsukami on him. So Sasuke, with the full power of Snake Sage Mode and now his Mangekyo Sharingan that he's awakened, has declared his vengeance against the Hidden Leaf and has a much stronger Jugo to back him up, and is training some of his abilities with Obito and slash Madara for now, as Naruto and the Hidden Leaf has actually just finished flushing out Danzo and are getting to work on flushing out all of Root before the upcoming Hokage or the upcoming 5 Kage summit, in response to the threat of the Akatsuki, and especially after Pain's attempt of an invasion. So yeah, we are about to end things here. Not too much changes in regards to many other characters. It's mainly centered around, the Naruto and Sasuke show, unfortunately. But Naruto's increase in strength has sent ripples throughout Konoha, and I'm going to be covering some of the things that have changed as a result of their increase of strength. I think I'll go on ahead and cover it briefly. In preparation, especially after the near death of Asuma and the near death of one of the Sannin, Naruto's graduating class has been upping their training regimen. Kakashi has been training himself to get more and more used to his Mangekyo Sharingan, especially after he ended up falling into another coma after the battle against Deidara, and most of his class, specifically in Rock Lee, who has been training himself to get up to the 7th gate in preparation for another attack from the Akatsuki in case Naruto isn't here. Sakura, who has been refining her chakra control and has been hoping to hit the point for her to be able to use her Byakugo seal a little earlier. And Hinata, who has been pushing herself to use a new technique that she developed. She's pushed ever since Naruto came back. She's been upping her training, especially with him being promoted to special jonin and then a field promotion into jonin. She has been upping her training with Neji and even her sister, to get strong enough to be able to stand by his side, and has managed to develop herself into the 64 palm technique and even the 128 palm if she needs to. She can perform the kaiten, she can perform all of them Hyuga jutsus, and has a secret weapon in the form of her twin lion fist technique, which she has been prepared to use in case of another invasion, especially after the attempted invasion of Pain, and was actually able to showcase against some of Root's members. They kind of scattered out, and there was a big battle between Konoha's main forces and all of Root. Yamato and Sai were actually one duo, showing off their skills against their former organization that they were a part of. Same with Kakashi. He was able to go against those 2 aides of Danzo, and Hinata was able to pull out her twin lion fist in order to take down a whole half dozen squads from Root all by herself, because we're making her a badass. She has been upping her training and has actually been training with Sakura, who has been trying to increase her taijutsu capabilities with Lee of all people. She's been hoping to learn how to open the 1st and 2nd gate to increase her chakra capacity and allow her to reach that point so that she can use her Byakugo seal. But this has only been over the course of the few months ever since Naruto has been gotten back. It's what everyone else has been doing when he was training when he was preparing to go against the Akatsuki and training his KCM1. So yeah, that's what everyone else has been doing for now, and we're about to move into the 5 Kage Summit and the beginnings of the war arc. Depending on how I feel about the series, I might even end up going into Boruto territory, but I know for a fact I'm gonna try and cover the Naruto the last film, but or at least some elements of it, but we'll see. That'll be the end of this video for now, at least. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you are into this new idea that I come up with and this new series and fandom that I'm getting into. Um, Let me know if you had any problems, if there's any plot holes or inconsistencies, and give me your criticisms. I'm all for it, but if you're going to be a dick, just don't even bother. Go waste your time with something else. Hit that notification bell if you want to see more, and I will see all of you later. Bye bye.